Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Awaken Suddenly Live Quick Talk. This evening, removing labels. And of course, you are here live on the Awaken the World group page. Hello, hello, hello. I see that Joanne is here. Hello, Joanne. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to have a quick talk about labels. And, labels are the most dangerous thing. Really. They really are. And this is why I try to refuse to label anything in any way whenever I possibly can. Even when I'm watching, the birds, for sake of using the term, when I am engaged in observing the birds, I am not engaged in thinking that's a bird. I avoid that. So what is the danger in labels? And the danger in labels, of course, is immediately evident when you see videos, as we had posted earlier today, of what's going on in the various Texas detention centers. In one particular place, immigrants are being kept underneath a bridge. And when you look at the food they're being offered, and this is the problem when we say the word immigrant, right? The problem when we use the label alien or illegal alien or illegal immigrant. Whenever we do this, whenever we label something, what we're really doing is we're taking a human being and we're reducing them to whatever we think about that label. And we've been programmed heavily to think certain things about certain labels. And when you are deeply unconscious, this comes out wholesale, as you can see, rampant in the States, where people are actually agreeing with this sort of treatment of what the term would be illegal immigrants. It's really funny what we'll do over a little tiny thin red line that someone drew on a map. At a psychological level, as soon as we've dehumanized somebody into nothing more than a label and thereby see them as that label, we now can no longer empathize with them. We cannot actually see them anymore as being human and just like us. We've lost that ability. Now, thankfully, there are so many out there who have learned already to look beyond the label. Their compassion within their hearts allows them to see through any of the labels and see the human being, our brothers and sisters in need. Now I would ask you, and it doesn't matter whether you're an American or a Canadian or European, those are all labels. As one human to another label, but let's use that one. As one human to another, would you treat your brother and sister in this manner? Would you reduce your brother and sister or your mother or your father or your own child to nothing more than a label? Unworthy, not good enough. Labels like these do damage because we buy into the label. And then we buy into what we feel about the label, and we begin to exhibit the characteristics of the labels that have been placed onto them if we buy into them. Kelly will often say to me, something as well, that's really great, for example. And I will say to her, I don't see it as great. To me, that's a label. It is, and I'm grateful for it. All the time, regardless of the circumstance. So the big danger, of course, in labels, and I see Karen is here too. Hello, Karen. Nice to see you. The big danger in labels, of course, is that once we've put that label on them, we no longer see them as like us. They are now the label. And that gives us license to treat them in whatever way we choose. And this is rampant throughout history. I mean, the examples are everywhere. One of the predominant ones being the Christian church. In the early days of the Christian church, if you were labeled a heretic, you were doomed. Even your best friend would no longer talk to you because he would run the risk, or she would run the risk, of being included with you at the inevitable death that was coming for you. You know, we go to war over labels. We go to war over definitions. We go to war over little tiny red lines that are drawn on a map and yet appear nowhere on the surface of the planet. We use terms like African and Canadian and American to separate ourselves from anyone else that doesn't fall under that label, as if we, with that label, were somehow more than someone who doesn't carry that label. If I keep freezing up on you, it's because your connection isn't so good. Because I have a gigabit speed connection now, and it's awesome on this end. And my system is all in the green. So hopefully that'll straighten up for you, Karen. And now, as long as my face doesn't freeze in one of those goofy positions, you know, when you stop a video, Facebook is famous for that. When I'm done a video, it doesn't pick like the cover that I've used. It picks an expression on my face that's just sheer terror to look at. Yeah, it's probably not your computer. It's probably just your internet connection. Not a biggie. Yeah, Spanish Inquisition is another one. You know, the witch trials. The list is long and distinguished. I mean, for the British, well, you know, the Indian people were barely even human to them. They had all sorts of labels that they used. So how do we remove the labels? Well, the easiest way to remove the labels, and I've talked to Kelly about this before, you know, we find in our society, we're surrounded by unconscious people who don't understand removing labels. You're going to have to use labels. But in order to not fall into what the labels do, this is what I do. This is what I suggested to Kelly. I said, in order to remove labels, even though you must use labels, first allow yourself to see them without the label. Allow yourself to see them just as an expression of the divine. Just allow them to be just as they are. And over time, you will begin to remove the labels if you're not already. That includes removing the labels you would put on yourself. These are some of the most damaging labels at all. And we typically don't put them directly upon ourselves. We typically buy into them. We've either been handed them by our parents or by other people in our lives, or we've picked them up through our society, or made to feel that we are that label through the various interactions we've had within that society. Drop these labels as well. You know, Rumi said there is no truth on earth except that there is no truth on earth, and he was perfectly right. The reason being is anything that we would try to label is trying to pack the magnificence of all creation into a tiny little guttural utterance. Hen scratch on a page. How blatantly ridiculous is that? Much love to you this evening from both Kelly and myself. I hope this little quick talk has been helpful. I hope it helps you to remember to remove labels, to be always aware of what the label does, and to restore yourself to seeing the divine within each of your encounters at all times. Again, all our love, and good night.